the fundamental understanding and the concepts that I needed to be able to go out here in America and work towards having an opportunity to become debt-free, financially independent for myself and my family. But even more importantly, to be able to teach others how to do that. That's one of the great virtues of Primerica, is that we can teach others in our family, community, and the country in which we live. We can teach other people how to do that. And one of the most important things about this business opportunity is you could teach people how to do it on a part-time basis. Most of us on this call,
I
a
know.
lot of us on this call, we would not have had an opportunity to have gotten started if we had not had a part-time opportunity. So because we had a part-time opportunity to be able to become an entrepreneur on a part-time basis, we took advantage of it. We learned what we had to learn. We did the self-improvement that we had to self-improve within our own individual selves. And look at us today. We are doing something great in America today. All of us collectively together, we are doing something absolutely great. And along the way in this country and in this company, you develop some great friendships. And the individual that you get ready to hear today, she's a great mentor of mine. I've been learning from her teacher for years now in terms of how she teaches this business. And she's going to share a little bit how she got started in the business, just like everybody else. She was 100% for sure, but she got in here, she learned, she self-improved, she developed herself, and now her and her family have a great business in America, great business in New York, great business in Primerica. And I'm not going to prolong it any longer. She'll tell you all about herself. She'll tell you everything she needs to tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to help me welcome to teach us this morning for 1 hour, all the way from New York, the state of New York, by Primerica, $1 million+ earner, in fashion, $2 million, Miss Capri Singh. Capri, we welcome you. We thank you for being a part. Y'all give it
Thank
up,
you.
give it up,
Thank
give
you.
it up,
right,
give it
all
up,
right,
give it
all
up,
right,
give it
all
up.
right.
Let it go, let it go,
Thank you,
let it
Brady.
go. All right.
Thank
All
you,
right,
thank
welcome.
you,
I love it.
Welcome.
thank you.
Okay, well, I love it and love that intro. And then I'm not the mentor, I'm just learning from him. So he's teaching a lot about recruiting and how important it is. And I know the mindset and mentality, that's what I always learn from John, like the building that distribution, right? Let's go ahead and talk a little. I think there's some echo going on. Somebody.
We got some background noise going on. Sheila, you're the ring one. Please cut it off. Okay, we need to get the background noise out some kind of way.
Okay, we got you. Yeah, so, just a little background. When I joined the business, I didn't think I could do it, but what stuck out for me was the rule of 72 and the money business. So I said, wait a minute, if this is the money business, I need to learn about the money business, right? Because everybody wants to have more money. Anybody we go talk to, even till today, they're like, oh, well, I want more money. I want more money. So that's where this opportunity will never go out of style, because we show people how to make money. And, just basically, I didn't think it was possible for me to do it, but I knew that the business itself was a liable business, because look, the background and everything that they taught us, it was true. So let me just go and I'll tell you a little bit as we unfold the story, about my points. So I don't know if Doreen is going to pull up the first slide. And I came up with this because the 5-star business. The 5-star business, why I thought about it is because everybody wants to go to a 5-star restaurant, right? I love to go, I like to learn about food and things like that. So I said, wait a minute, we need a 5-star business, right? That can basically generate other 5-star businesses. So the first thing I would talk about in a 5-star business is the attitude, right? Because what I had to change in the beginning was my attitude towards success, right? Sometimes our attitude is, oh, like, I know everything and blah, blah, blah. But no, I didn't know everything, right? Thank you, Dory. Right? I didn't know how it was the attitude of a business owner, because what was I doing? I was always a good employee. Right? So attitudes had to change, and they always say your attitude is going to determine your altitude. But it depends where you are, because if you're on the job, you can only climb so high. But in this business, they said, listen, if you have a great attitude towards people, towards the business, towards what we do, you're going to grow, you're going to change, you're going to become better. So what I started, my attitude was what, you know what, I need to be a better me, right? A lot of people that say, well, my team needs to do this, so-and-so needs to do that. But no, we need to do it, right? Because if we change our thoughts, we're going to change our team, right? We're going to change the size of our team, how big we are, and things like that. So the attitude is very crucial. So right now, I want you to rate your attitude, right? Let's say 1 to a 5. Right? Because we're always constantly working on building our attitude, because there's going to be high points, low points, but then we have to get up points, right? It doesn't matter where you are, it's where you're going, right? If you, like John Maxwell always says, if you're down there, pick something up, meaning learn something and then bounce right back. There's no failure, it's all learning, right? And some people take a long time to learn, or long compared to what? I mean, the job is like a 40, 50-year journey. So if you had to take a couple of months or a couple of years to learn, it's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up. Your attitude can't be, oh, poor me, poor me. I read something the other day, which I think relates to this, is in the book $1 Million Habits by Brian Tracy. And he said, successful people go after what they want, and they focus on what they want, not what they don't want, right? And then they make it happen. So success is listing what you want, how are you going to make it happen? Failing people who are unsuccessful, they talk about things they don't want and how to blame others. So your attitude has to be brainstorming, not blame storming. Right? See, a lot of people, they're like, blame, blame, blame. No, you want to have your attitudes like, what can I do better? What can I fix? Right? I can't fix the other person, but I can what? Choose to do something different. Right? So the attitude is very important. The second thing is your belief system, which I call the BS. Right? What are your beliefs? You're telling your leaders, yeah, I'm going to do 500,000 in income, but inside you're like, I don't know if I could do that. And how do we know that? Is by your actions, right? How are you speaking it into existence? I remember being in an op night. It was myself and Raj and 3 other people. And that night, when those 3 people, I spoke to them, that's the night this $1 million hierarchy was birthed. I was like, listen, we're going to become the first $1 million hierarchy in the state of New York. 19.8 million people, but I don't care who's who, we're going to do it. Right? And Raj and I, we went to work. We went on the fundamentals. We kept doing, was it a pretty thing? No. Right? Were we the best at it all the time? No. We weren't the best recruiters. We weren't. But the good thing about it is that when you build distribution, you become best because you what? Build a team. Now you have people that are working with you, not for you, with you. Because they're working on their dream. We're working on our dream, but what? We're working together. And the way to change your belief system is to what? Number 1, you should have affirmations, right? Because if you're not feeding your mind, like your mind is a supercomputer and your self-talk is the programming, right? So I always believe in affirmations. I do them every morning. My kids do them every morning. They've been doing them since they're little, right? Because your belief system is going to determine your quality of life. The third thing, which is what? Expectation. And as Brian Tracy said, there's a law of expectation. And I always understood, like, listen, if I go in there to the client, what is my expectation? Is it going to be like, oh, they're not going to do anything, they're not interested? Or is it going to be, listen, this is what I do. Okay, you're not interested? It's okay. Who do you know that I need to talk to? Oh, you want me to call you back in 2 months? Okay, no problem. But who do you know right now that I can talk to and rescue? Because our information rescues people, right? And the expectation you have of yourself is what you have of others, right? You don't have to go in there expecting like, oh my God, this person's going to have all the money in the world. But guess what? What if they're your next superstar? What if the expectation is that that's going to what? Give you a breakthrough in your business? So you have to have those positive, again, it goes back to number one, your attitude and then your expectation. But your belief system is tied into the expectation. Because if you don't believe people are going to follow you, you're absolutely right. They won't. Right? I think it was Henry Ford who said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Right? So you have a leader like John and Angela Lennon who poured that expectation like, listen, we have this, we can show you how to have it. Listen, you know what? If you recruit and you build, this is what the outcome is with the expectation. So that brings me to the next point, which is recruiting is like recruiting and referrals are like the river, they keep flowing, right? There's always, I mean, the company is always recruiting 20, 30,000 people, but you have to break it down and say, listen, I need to get 3 to 5 directs and then build under them. That's the magic of our business. And then guess what happens? If they don't want to stay in the business, it still leads to referrals, which is the river, and the river keeps flowing. The river doesn't care if you're sad, if you're happy, the river keeps flowing. Is your business keep flowing, right? Does your business pay you regardless, right, of what you did? I mean, Raj and I were paid $129,000 last month. 129,000 that was last month, and we had 0 personal production, right? So imagine what's going to happen as the recruiting goes up. And I think with 33 RVPs, we're kind of a small hierarchy. We need to get to 50 RVPs, then 100 RVPs, then to 200 RVPs, right? You know, that's the most important thing. Now, we all know about recruiting. We all heard about it. But recruiting is nothing different than showing people like, listen, this is what we do. We're in the money business, and you can make some money, but you can also build a team and help other people, right? And then people like, yeah, I could help other people. Okay, great. Then the reoccurring thing happens, which is referrals are coming in and the rivers keep flowing. And the fifth thing is invest in people. Invest in people. What do you mean invest in people? Do you put money into people? Yes, investing in people means you're developing people. Investing in people means, hey, you know what? We're going to read this book together. Hey, investing in people is like, okay, how do we go from point A to point B? I'll show you how to make a plan, a game plan, but I'll also hold you accountable for that game plan, because a plan without accountability is just a wish, right? Because I know my coach, I have many coaches, but my main coach is Coach Francis. She invests in me because every day I talk to her and tell her what's going on, what's the activity, what are the things we have to work on, right? And there's still a lot to work on. Even though you reach this far, it's like, okay, you got this far, that's fine, but how are we going to go further? What are we going to do? So we know the best way to go further is number 4 is to get those recruitings going, to get big recruiting numbers, and everybody recruit their 3 to 5, build a team. Now you have compound interest happening. So rate yourself on these things: your attitude 1 to 5, your belief system 1 to 5, and you can write down notes on what your belief system is. And it's okay to say, well, you know what, I'm struggling with this belief. Rate your expectations of what you want, right? Rate your recruiting. Like, are you recruiting those 3 to 5 directs? Are you great at getting referrals? Because guess what? People know people, and you need to know those people. And then are you doing something with your team while you're investing? Like, we do a book club on Monday, and we invest in people. So people from different teams, like other hierarchies, well, not other hierarchies, but other RVPs besides my base shop, RVPs in my hierarchy, they plug in, and then their people plug in, and then we're seeing the effect now, because a leader who you're investing in now is investing in their people. So those are the 5 things that we focus on, and they might be simple, but it takes time to build on these things, right? Because a lot of people, attitude, I have a positive attitude. Yeah, but how does your income look? Is your income reflect your attitude? Does your belief system reflect your income? Does your expectation reflect your income? Because I believe that you should be focusing on, okay, if you're part-time in this business, making at least 3 to 5,000 and then building on that 5,000 and then making it consistent. And once it's consistent, now you want to what? Continue to do it. So let's go to the next slide. But we can also stop and assess, John. John, do you have some questions based on this so far?
No, I don't have any question at this moment, Capri. I just keep rolling. Unless one of the RFPs may have a question.
Okay, yeah, if they have any question or any feedback on the specific, because I want to hear about it. Don't hold back today. It's not about what's right or wrong. It's about you making the breakthrough, because every meeting should be a breakthrough moment.
Okay, let me say this too. I don't know what happened to our Zoom. We do pay for 500, but for some reason it's not evidently not working, because we look like we're restricted to 100 people. People just texting me all over the place. So something happened to our Zoom this morning. But anyway, in the RFP that's on, if you got a question, you may go ahead and chime in and ask Capri. Okay, now Capri, you can keep rolling. If you got a question, put it in chat and we'll call on you for that one, Peter.
Okay, all right, good. So let's go ahead and put up the next slide, which is about how to set the goals, right? And goals, I always think of goals as what makes you go, right? You know, a lot of people say, well, how do I know what my goal is? I said, if your goal doesn't make you, if your why doesn't make you cry, then it might not be your why. Right? Because it has to be something emotionally attached. So we talk about the 1-4-3-1 plan. So you have one big goal for the year. So our big goal for the year is to become a $2 million hierarchy by December. Right? 4 seasons in a year. So every season you want to what? Progress. There are 3 months in a season, right? So those 3 months, what are you going to do? It's a quarter, right? Art William always said you can have an explosion in 90 days. And then you want to have 1 win per week. What we talk about is the 8-5-3-1. You go on 8 appointments, 5 people will be there, 3 people will buy, and 1 person will become your recruit. You do that for the whole year, let's say 52 weeks, you got what? 52 directs, right? And then you're going to build under those people. Right, you're gonna, there goes, yeah. So 1 big goal for the year, 4 seasons in a year, 3 months in a season, and what the most important thing is the 1 win per week, right? Because every time you get a win, you feel what? Empowered. I don't care how much money I made in this business, but every time I go to an appointment, close the appointment, I feel like, wow, we did it again. Right? Like, wow, oh my God, this is amazing. Oh my God, we helped this person. And it becomes personal to you because you were able to help that person. But I do see, you know, basically a question. I do see a question, so we can basically take that off and have that feedback, because I would like for you, oh, here it is. What is the target appointment count you tell part-timers newly independent to produce the results of 3 to 5 directs? So 8-5-3-1 a week. It doesn't matter if you're part-time or full-time. If you're full-time, you should be doing 8-5-3-1 cycle every 3 days, because now you have more time. Now there's a difference between full-time and full-time. There's some people that are full-time, but they're fooling themselves. They're not doing the activity. If you're not doing the activity that's required, this business is going to be a drag, right? It's never going to take off. It's like a rocket that never launches, right? Nothing's going to happen. All you're going to do is frustrate, and then you're going to say, oh, the business doesn't work. But to me, I teach it to my team, is that the 8-5-3-1 is the lotto ticket, right? That's the lotto number. You have control over this number. So you're winning lotto by earning income every week if you're doing this number. And when you're doing this number, what is happening within the number is what? Number 1, you're having other people come on the team. Number 2, now again, confidence levels go up. Expectation goes up. Once expectations goes up, you're like, wait a minute, I expect to do this, I could do this too. And then all of a sudden the trickle effect, but I'd like to hear maybe John, because nobody else is opening up. What are some of the things that the leaders on the team that are coming to you, what are some of the things that they're saying about their struggle?
Krista Brown, you want to chime in? Melvin Calhoun?
I
What
got a
happened?
question. too.
Okay.
Hey, Crystal.
I got one too.
This is Karisten Gapri. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
hey, Kirsten, how are you?
I'm good, Gapri, but I'm looking to get better. And so you went over the 5-star business, right? And even in that, yeah, I'm in RVP. I've been here for years. I find that I am struggling in those areas. And so if, well, you are coaching me, so I want to take advantage. Where do I begin, Gapri, in order to get going again? And I love what you're talking about with the goals. Post 1 win a week, right? Because that's going to build my confidence. But in terms of the attitude, the belief system, expectation, what do I work on first? Or do I work on all of them simultaneously?
Well, the first thing is to build a foundation. Without the attitude, the other areas are not going to be successful. So the number one attitude has to be, you know what? I am struggling with XYZ, and I need to speak to my coach. I mean, whatever it's John or whoever it is, right? And I need to let them know how I really feel. Because if I'm coaching and people are just lying through the process, they're not hurting me. They're lying to themselves. Right. So as Raj and I, we realized when we were at 300,000 income that we're not going to grow further if we don't start recruiting and building. Right. So that was a very pivotal moment for us, because we're like, listen, if we want to go further, this is what we have to do. Is it going to be overnight? No. But is it possible? Yes. So what are the things you're doing daily in your daily habits? Are you self-developing? Are you waking up every morning and talking to your maker, whatever it may be that empowers you? And I know people say, well, my children are my why, but they have to start with themselves. Right? The other people in our life are fine, but we have to start with ourselves. And if you start with those 5 points that I gave you, that's why I came up with this 5-star, because myself, I look at that checklist daily for me. So it's a little checklist for yourself, because if you have 100 checklists, it's going to be what? Your brain is not going to, they say, psychologists say, you can only work on 3 to 5 things at a time. That's what your brain allows you to do. Even though your brain is a supercomputer and we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, but 90% of those thoughts are negative. About 80 to 90% are negative. So when you I think it was Anthony Robbins, he said, listen, anytime you get a thought that's not conducive, just shout out cancel. Right? I use those strategies. So if you're reading and developing, I love YouTube University. I mean, I go on those YouTubes and I listen to different fields of people, and I go, I listen to those interviews because I'm never going to get to meet those people. Right? But through those conversations now, I feel like, oh, okay, that's something I can utilize. Right? Because from the morning to the evening, start to finish, you should be able to have some type of accountability, not only with yourself, but with a accountability partner. So hopefully that helped you.
Thank you, Gapri.
Yeah, and there was a question about, can you speak about keys to getting people to develop the belief system that they become RVP 6-figure? See, RVP is something you have to be willing to do. A lot of people are running after RVP for a title, like titleitis. It's a disease, right? But if you're doing the activity, your belief level is going up. Obviously, you're going to go for the highest contract. All of us who are successful RVPs on this call, and John has, trained you to do that. It's not something like, okay, I've got to become RVP and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't something you dragged. It was something you decided you wanted to do. Right? And if you decide to do it, then you want to what? Create financial freedom from it. And then you want to what? Create other RVPs, right? So how do you coach the teenagers in your base who think they know more than they know? They're showing up and don't realize their attitude and behaviors are toxic to the team. But that's the leader's fault, because there's nobody going to be toxic coming to my meeting. If you're toxic, I got to pull you to the side, and I had to have that heart to heart talk with you. But if I'm developing people along the way, then there's no toxicity. Now, are there going to be differences? Of course. We're human beings. They might say, well, I want to do it this way. Okay, is it working? Yes, it is. Okay, then you continue to do it. Some people lead with recruiting. Some people lead with the product. Some people lead with both. As long as they're getting the results, we know that if you lead with recruiting, you get higher results in the future. But that's okay. If you decide to do it XYZ and you're happy with the income you're having, hey, go knock yourself out. It's not about, this is not a job. This is a voluntary army. But if some people are in the audience that are toxic, you would have to address each one of them, and you would have to talk to them about what is causing that toxic behavior in the team. Right? So can you give us the 5 steps one more time? So John has it, right? We spoke about the attitude. We spoke about the belief system. We spoke about the expectation. We spoke about the recruiting with the referrals is like a river. And then we, spoke about wrapping it up with those goals, that 1 win a week, right? Which the goals are part of it. So those 2 slides are part of the process. But let me pull it up here, because it's always my checklist. And of course, number 5 was invest in people. And what does it mean to invest in people is that you have to help develop them, because they're at point A, help them get to point B. So those are really great questions. Okay. I see another question. How do you determine the books for the book club? How do you run your book club? So we basically read different books, and everybody's assigned a chapter, and we try to determine general books on leadership, Art William books, Larry Weidel, Bill Arender books, something related to our growth in the business, and that helps us grow. And I read through a lot of books, and then I say, oh, this is a good one for the book club. Like right now we're reading Les Brown, Live the Dream. The reason I wanted to read that is, number 1, Les Brown is a great author and a great communicator. And number 2, I love the title, Live the Dream. So I told my team, like, we have to start living the dream, not wishing the dream, not thinking about the dream, but living it. So it's connected to their self-talk, right? Can you talk about action steps you took get recruiting going? Action step is go on the appointment and offer recruiting. I mean, go and do the 6-page presentation and say, listen, we're looking for people that want to make extra income. Are you interested? Yes or no? So there's nothing different. It's all about activity. So instead of talking about the product more, we talked up front about, hey, listen, our mission statement says it all. We help people make money, extra money, right? We help them become debt-free. We help them become properly protected. So, extra income is the first thing. So it was an aha moment, because we offer part-time income. That should be something discussed up front, right? The concept of, does your income reflect your attitude? That mindset, please build on that. Well, if my attitude is that I'm great in this business, then I should be at least making 20, 30, 40,000 a month. Because, if I'm making $1,000 or $2,000, I'm not great at it yet. But guess what? It depends on when I really started, because the IBA date and the start date could be 2 different dates. Because when I started in the business, the IBA date was one date, but 2 years later was the start date because I decided to start doing activity. Right? So you have to make that decision because we think we're working, but we're really not working because the definition of work is either you're on an appointment or you're going on an appointment. What we're doing right here now is not work, right? It's what? Getting better. It's taking that, saw and making sure we sharpen it, right? Making sure we sharpen it. So when we get more sharper, then our business gets sharper, right? If we don't develop ourselves, we can't develop other people. And if we don't develop other people, we never build a team. And if we don't build a team, then our income is what? Dependent on ourselves, right? The
Capri?
most important, yes.
Go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
No. The most important thing I'm thinking is that people are not taking a true assessment of themselves. But they can't take a true assessment because you can't fix a problem with the same mind that created it. Therefore, you need somebody who will sit down with you, will be honest with you, and you have to be open to the honesty and say, okay, well, here I am, I'm here, and I want to get here. Tell me, based on what you see, what I need to kind of adjust. Now, it's okay, because a lot of people, they're going to stay at 100,000 and 200,000 because they don't want to be accountable. They don't want to, they're like, oh, this is not a job. I don't want to be my boss. I don't want feedback. A lot of people that instead of running a business, they're getting offended by everything. They take it personal instead of what? It's a business strategy, right? Don't take it personal. It's not about you. This is bigger than you. Go ahead.
Capri, you are one of the masters, of course, at referrals. But I know personally you're also excellent at teaching people who don't have markets how to create markets. So can you please speak to that?
Okay, well, everybody in their phone has people. Everybody. Okay, I don't care if it's one person, 10 people. They can go out and talk to that person and say, listen, I have information. It might not be for you, but you might be able to pass it on to someone else. And then you get the referrals and you say, listen, I'll speak to this person and give me their number and I'll speak to them. And then you call them. I mean, there's nothing else to do but to call them. And if they say yes, that's great. If they say no, that's great too. It's like people are not willing to take the no's and the yeses. And I always say go for the yes, but if you get the no, it's okay. Get over it. Right? I don't say go for the no because the more no's I go for, the more I'll get, right? Law of attraction. So I go for the yeses and I always say, okay, this person knows someone that I need to know. And I have to sit down and go through that with them, the presentation, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on their interest level. I mean, I've done a presentation in 5 minutes. I've done a presentation in 30 minutes. It depends on the interest level. But if you're not interested, I'm not just going to sit there and talk to you because I got other people to go talk to. So referrals, people are overthinking referrals. Like if your life depended on it, and I told you for every referral you get $1,000, how many referrals would you get? A lot.
Millions.
Yeah, millions. So think of it, every referral is a breakthrough in your business. Sometimes I had a referral of 100 people, but 98 was the breakthrough. But I had to call all those people to find out. And I don't mind calling because listen, this phone makes me millions of dollars. This is what this business requires. But I think people are sitting in the office hoping that somebody will walk in, but that's not how this business works. You have to go create. And when you create, you will make money in this business. I don't care how bad you are, how good you are. This business works for bad people and good people.
Okay, Capri, the next question we're gonna come from I just got back on from Project Lemons. We're gonna see if he has a question in terms of what he wants to ask. After that, we'll flip to Melvin Cajon. But Capri, my question to you is, you started in this business and it seems to me that you have systematically led the charge in terms of doing what you do on a day-to-day basis to fundamentally bring clients and recruits into your business. And it has compounded over the years to now you have a RVP type business as well as a base shop type business. So at what point did you see that transition really begin to happen for you, that you knew that you could build leaders in your base shop? You knew that you could help those leaders become RVPs. Is there something that happened to you that caused that to happen? Because a lot of our people seem to be stuck right there in terms of what do they do to get the business going from a base shop point of view so that ultimately can build RVPs. And I'm saying you do all of that.
Good question. And honestly, I mean, I could give you a whole bunch of fluff answer, but the honest answer is the people that are feeling that way, they're not growing, they're not developing. And what I mean by growing and developing is what are they feeding their mind? And I always say, I want to read and I want to listen and I want to write. What am I reading? What am I listening to? And what am I writing to myself about my expectations? So they're probably, if I'm maybe, I'll take a guess, they're probably not doing their affirmations. They're probably not writing their goals down. And if they are, they always think it's a lie. And they're probably not reading something consistently because, at this rate, if I want to go to 2 million, you know what I had decided to do? I said, listen, you got to go through a lot of material to grow yourself. So there's like 3 to 4 books a week, right? Some people don't read a book a year, right? So it doesn't matter what other people do, but if I want to win and go into the championship, this is what I have to do. So they're going to have to make adjustments to their habits. And if they adjust their habits, the outcome will adjust because that's how great this business is.
So you're saying in the beginning, once you started making that adjustment, then you start to see sequentially that your business was beginning to grow. Once you individually made that adjustment. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Everything starts with, I always say, I'm not looking for an RVP factory. I'm looking for a leadership factory. Because people think that just you got to be a leader at RVP. No, you got to be a leader at a district level, division level, senior rep level. Every level is about leadership. And this is what Art Williams said. The number one thing about our company is we're a leadership company. So the day I decided to become a leader and say, listen, I can't blame anybody for whatever happened, what didn't happen. I have to look at myself, Raj and myself, and what are the things we are necessarily have to adjust. And when we make the adjustment, things will change. And that's when things change. That's why, the RVP factory will never stop because we're what? Leaders are developing leaders who develop other leaders, right? So the process continues, but again, it all boils down to the man or the woman in the mirror.
So, Tane, what I'm hearing her say is, and Broderick Lemons, we want you to chime in. What she's saying is, you and I individually on this call, we got to change. And once we start to change and do some of the things that she's talking about, then our growth is going to start to systematically, consistently come at that point in time. And from there, we're going to build a business just like Capri did in New York. Broderick Lemons, you have a question or comment?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Capri, for being on and sharing with the team. Just candid ways of being successful and growing in this business. Continuing, I guess, on your talk, could you elaborate a little bit more on how do you focus on recruiting in a market that can lead to good results? Because we can get, recruits from anywhere. Let's say we get 5 recruits that aren't really productive versus getting, 5 recruits that can lead you to more activity. What are some of the things that you kind of set your sights on or you focus on to stay in a market that can produce results versus just kind of spinning your wheels and going in circles?
Well, I always say there's no bad recruit, there's only a bad trainer. I've gotten markets and every person, they have 1 person, 2 people, 3 people. It all begins with, I recruit you, I make the list, we make an assessment. Now, we call these people regardless. It takes a couple of minutes to call people. I'm not going to make a judgment on your market because I can tell you one thing. The person that was recruited in my business, Maria, She led me to Kamika John, who's over 700,000. But Kamika went on 8 field trainings with me, but we did 0 sales and 0 recruits. But guess what she did? She learned from me how to get referrals. And therefore, now she's never been out of business because she learned that system. So I don't really prejudge the markets. I want to dig in and see what it is. And I don't call it a bad market or a good market. I just call it, listen, let's work with what you have to get what you want. If you have one person, then we're going to talk to that one person. If you have 10 people, which I know you have 10 people because everybody has family meetings and gatherings, I show up to those gatherings. And then I get the names and numbers and I said, you see, you didn't think of this person, but look, because my job is to brainstorm. They're prejudging like, oh, that person doesn't want it or that person. I said, listen, whether they want it or not, they know someone you need to know in your business. In order for me to help you grow your business, I got to go in front of those people. So don't worry about it. Don't take it personally. I'm okay with it because guess what? You have the people and I know how to do this business. Okay, so together we accomplish. So I know with confidence that if I go in front of people, something's going to happen. It might not happen today. Like, you know, we're working on some different people today that are going to close, but this is, you know, with investments, but this is people with 5 years ago conversations. Okay, so it's really you paying attention to what's around you. But if you're in the business of do or die, you have to what? Do, regardless when that person does nothing, it doesn't matter. Move on to the next fast. But if you get something done every day, that's 30 transactions. Until you find people now who can duplicate that too, and then there'll be 2 transactions. So now you're continually what? Building upon that. But the person, the leader, what most people want to do, they want to be in the override position before they provide value. They're like, okay, I recruited you, go figure it out. I want to override you. Don't ask me no questions. Don't ask me nothing. I just want to override you. That's not the attitude you have to have. Your attitude is I recruited you in the business because of something attracted me to you. Now you're in this business. Now we're going to work towards getting you successful.
Okay, Timmy, what I'm hearing is that each one of us on this call this morning, we have the opportunity, a major opportunity, because we individually can change and start to do what she's talking about. And when we do, we're going to start to affect the lives of other people in terms of teaching them as far as they want to go. We can't take a person where they want to go. But as far as they go, we can begin to teach them. Aranessa, you're beginning to build your business in Philadelphia now. Do you have a question or something you want her to clarify from the point of view of what she's teaching us about individual leadership in terms of what we have the responsibility to do so that we can teach others to do what it is that we're doing? Ms. Aranessa from Philadelphia.
Absolutely. Gapri, you blow me away every single time. Good morning, everyone. My Achilles heel is systems. I've got no problem with getting people in the door. I make great relationships. I'm grateful for that. But how do you manage the overwhelm when you're still the octopus? You're still trying to do the business, work in it, work on it, you're a mom, all those things. How did you streamline? What did you take off your plate? What did you keep? How did you develop that actual machine that has one thing leading to the other? Systems is my challenge.
Okay, well, I always say time management, which is called life management. And I always look at a schedule. That's how I've been taught by Coach Francis. Like, examine your schedule. What are you doing like Hector Lamarck always says, don't wait for the whole day to go by hour. What have you been accomplishing? Right? So if you need to do X, Y, Z, you're not going to do it on peak time. You're going to do it off peak. Right? So you can still get it done because 24 hours a day is 168 hours a week. You mean you didn't close one thing in 168 hours? If you say that to yourself, it's ridiculous, right? So I don't care how busy you are. Are you busy productive or are you busy movement, right? So I always look at people's schedule when I sit down with them. And I say, okay, you know what? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, let's break it down. What are your responsibilities? Okay, so Monday you take your child to XYZ. So obviously you're taking your child so you won't be able to be on an appointment. But then I identify the areas where they can be. So some people work it on Saturday and Sunday. Some people work it on Friday and Saturday. So the scheduling is very important because I always say every business has what? Like a schedule on the door. What is your schedule? And people struggle with time management. That's why I call it life management. And I said, listen, even though this happened today, you can adjust it because tomorrow's a new day. And these habits are necessary whether you're in the business or out of the business. I've had people tell me, oh my God, my family life is better. My life is just much better with the systems I've taught them, which boils down to what? Time management. Because, if you went an appointment on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, nothing happened, we should discuss each appointment individually so that I can see what you're doing so I can help you. Like the reason my business exploded in a certain part was because every sale that came in, I was able to call the client with the person that closed it. And if they didn't get the referrals, I would go back and get the referrals because I knew without names and numbers, there is no business. The number one thing I'm focused on is inventory. Because if inventory keeps flowing, the skill level is not that crucial, because if I don't have names and numbers, I don't care how skilled I am. I don't have people to see. So that's the things I focused on. And as you're, a mom, I remember because both of my kids grew up in this business, and my son now, he's a regional leader making over 100,000. And, my 14-year-old daughter, they both grow up in this business, and it's amazing because they're amazing at affirmations, schedulings, and they have a schedule. They're very structured. They're very focused. And every Sunday we had a board meeting with the family. Like what are they going to do and what am I going to do? There's a lot of people, they basically, they're not having this communication with their family, and when they're supposed to be working, they're not working. They're feeling guilty, right? And when they're off, they're doing the same thing. So they're not productive. They're just a body moving around, right? So I always say level of communication. I communicate with my RVPs. I communicate with the base shop. I communicate with the new leaders upcoming. Yesterday, we had another licensed person in the base shop. Guess what? I called them. I said, great. I heard great things about you. I can't wait to see you on Saturday. And that's 1, 2, 3 levels, third level, meaning 3 deep. Because I know a leg is not a leg until it's 4 deep, right? So now these things are productive things that takes me less than a minute to do, to call someone, say, hey, congratulations, can't wait to see you on Saturday. Finding out their schedule and saying, hey, we have Monday meetings, we have Wednesday meetings, we have Saturday meetings. So which ones are the ones you're going to be plugging into? She said, well, Wednesday night I work, but I could still be on the Zoom, and then Saturdays I can come in because I'm off on the weekend. Now I identified this is the time to work. See what I'm saying? So it's not like you're doing something, I'm doing something that's, rocket science. It's just basic stuff. That makes sense.
Okay, all right. This is good, team, for all of us this morning, because this is the transition that we need right now to go where Capri has gone to. Andre Hutchinson, you're in the midst of building your business right now. Do you have a question or comment that you want to share with Capri?
Yes, good morning at Capri. Thank you for everything that you're sharing with us right now. Give me some how's when you give us an idea in reference to, do you have any competition things to help drive and move your team to some of the big goals that you talked about earlier?
Okay, yeah. So one thing Raj and I decided, because when we did have a lot of competitions, it was a fake business. When you incent people to build their business all the time, it's almost like a fake business. When you stop incenting, they stop doing. We want to create people that see the value in this business. Now, do we have incentives in the base shop? Yes. Do we have, like, I look for RVPs that are growing and I say, hey, you know what? You hit 2020 2 months in a row. Why don't you go ahead and hit 30-30 this month and we'll go to dinner with 2 of your people. But nothing, nothing major. We want to spend time with them because that's feeding into them. It's building them, right? So nothing major. And in the base shop, when someone gets to district and above, we call it a district dinner. We have those kind of things, but nothing off the charts. I see a lot of people throwing a lot of incentives out there, but they're not fundamentally building people. Now that's, it works for some people. But again, for us, this is how we look at it. Now, it doesn't mean if you're doing it differently, like, again, this is just what we do. There could be somebody doing it on this call right now that's working for them. You continue, right? But I'm not here to change your business today. I'm here to change you as your mindset and your mentality. And that mentality will lead you to other things, if that answers your question.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right, Terrence Hickman, you want to chime in on any question? She's talking about you and I as leaders changing so that we can then change the leaders in our business so that we can kind of grow the type business that she has grown. And she's not saying change what you're doing, but maybe there's a fine tuning we can do here today as a result of what she's done. Capri has built a majorly successful business. After Capri, we'll switch it over to Peggy Washington to see if she has a question. I mean, after Terrence, you got a question?
All right, this has been phenomenal, Capri. I always get a tremendous amount of value anytime you speak, and anytime in your presence. I've got a chance to build some relationships with a lot of your leaders, and I learned so much, man. And so I'm just taking it. I got 3 pages of notes. You kind of hit on it, Capri, but if you want to put like a stamp on it, developing those independent leaders. You develop a tremendous amount of independent leaders, successful, making money. You run a very balanced business, as Coach Lennon always talks to us about. So if you don't mind talking about that, running a balanced business, but also producing independent leaders that make money.
Right. So everything, it starts with an expectation. When Roger and I were growing up in this business, our upline 3rd generation is Ed Randall. He was all the way in Alabama. And here we were in a big city and we had to figure things out. So we were expected to figure it out. If we wanted the results we wanted, then figure it out. How do you figure it out? You can figure it out with trial or error, or you can figure it out with somebody else's knowledge, where we were able to ask a lot of questions of Ed Randall. And then from those questions, we were able to assess a system. And from the system, we create success, right? So it's, again, do you want to have like a lot of leaders who want to have followers want dependent leaders, right? We want to have a business that leaders develop leaders, because we don't want to be given the, like, oh, this person did it for me or whatever. No, you did it. We just showed you the systems and you ran the play. So it's a different business, as John Maxwell said. Leaders who develop leaders and leaders who develop followers, right? And leaders who develop followers, that business is going to go away in a short period of time. But leaders who develop leaders, like John and Angela have developed leaders on this call, and with or without John, you're still continuing to run the play. Now, is he providing value? Yes, he is. He's providing this value for you today because he's like, listen, there might be something that can help you grow. I'm going to put it in front of you. That's the same thing I do. Like, I plug in, we have the team that plugs into the ALC. We have people that plug into the HALC and the Women in Primerica. I use these platforms to grow the team, because a lot of the women we have, they speak at Women in Primerica. A lot of the people we have speak at, African American Leadership Council. And, a lot of the leaders we have, they go to the HALC. But this is not because I want to be just the island to them. I want to expose them to other things so they can find their place. And when they find their place, you just get out of their way and allow them to become the leaders they were. And, you know, if that answers your question.
Okay, all right, now we're gonna have a question from Peggy Washington. Then after that, we're gonna have a question or comment from our #1 recruiter, Mr. Lydell Walden. Peggy, before Lydell, do you have a question or comment? Peggy Washington. Okay, if Peggy's not available, we'll move on to
I'm
Lydell.
available,
Lydell,
John, and just got stuck on trying to unmute.
okay,
But Capri, I'm always humbled in your sight. And I mean that dearly because you have given me such priceless information. And I'm hearing you speak, and I'm like Terrence, I have about 5 or 6 pages of notes here, where being instructed to do certain things and you don't do it, then you're the culprit here. No, you can't blame nobody but yourself. You know, and so I just want to thank you for being on, and I'm gonna look you up. I'm in New York too. I'm in New York too.
Good, good. Well, just come
Thank
and
you for
see.
being.
okay, Lydell, Lydell is one of our great recruiters. And
Yes,
Lydell, did this bring any thought process to you in terms of you developing your team and taking it on to the level that Capri is taking her business to? Mr. Lydell Walden, our #1 recruiter in our hierarchy. Mr. Lydell.
All right, thank you, John. I definitely appreciate it. And good morning, Capri. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
All right, I definitely appreciate you jumping on this morning to share some nuggets with us. And I just go back to what you said earlier, because you kind of set the precedence earlier with you got to have the right attitude. So if you don't have the right attitude, how can you expect to portray the attitude to the team, which portrays it down? So you got to get your attitude right before you can expect everybody else's attitude to be in alignment. You talked about the belief system. I mean, it takes a certain type of belief system, you know, to win at anything, to be successful at anything. So what are you telling yourself? You talked about the reading the books and the self-improvement. All of this is critical, and it's just it's great to always hear the reminders of these things, because it lets you know you're on track, and you just got to keep doing what you're doing and keep looking for the people that want to change, that want to have good attitudes, that believe they can do more, believe that they can be better, that have those expectations that you were talking about, because it really does come down to the power of expectation. You got to speak it in order to see it. So I definitely appreciate everything that you said this morning, and just make little minor tweaks and adjustments in what we're doing. So I definitely appreciate it.
Okay, appreciate that. Is Shay Barnes on? I know she was trying to get on one time. Is Shay on this morning?
Question. Yeah, I see a question. It says, my question is on maximizing duplication. What are some of the things you're doing to develop leaders and happy independent part-timers? The 5-step process that I told you. That's the steps. I mean, it's not difficult if you have an expectation of developing leaders. And there's great books by John Maxwell, you know, develop the leaders around you, you know, but you got to start with the person within you, right? You have to develop the leader within you and then around you. So it becomes a process, and you have to have a system. Are you going to build a hierarchy, or are you going to build a base shop? A base shop alone is not going to build a hierarchy. So you have to, again, lay out the expectation, talk to the person who's training you, that's not only training you, but that's accountable, so they can give you a true assessment of where you are, and then you move forward. Instead of saying, oh, poor little me, you say, okay, you know what? Now I know the adjustments that have to be made, like a carburetor adjustment when you go with your car. They assess and then they fix. The same thing, we can do the same thing.
Okay, Jackie Costin, you got a question?
Yes, hello, Gurpreet. Thank you so much for all the information, always an inspiration. My question is on mentors. How did you choose Frances? I know because she is a leader, but how would you suggest we find a mentor that would be, you know, suitable to us?
Well, the first place to go is your uplines. You know, like Ed Randall is you know, my hierarchy mentor, but because I was working in Women in Primerica, and then I was able to talk to Frances, and then of course, you know, listen to her teachings. And a mentor is not going to mentor you if you don't adjust what you need to adjust. Because if you just talk to the mentor to talk to the mentor, they're going to just say, okay, you're wasting time. So I would go to your direct upline, right? And I would say, listen, these are the things I'm struggling with. I need accountability. Okay. And that's it. It's not going to be that complicated, but the best mentor sometimes is what? I mean, I have mentors outside the business. Like I told you, I have YouTube University, and I listen to some people that are successful that break things down, and they become my mentor. The mentor in the car that I'm listening to, that becomes my mentor because I'm trying to grasp information and make the adjustment to grow the business and then grow myself, which is going to grow the business, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you so much.
Now
Okay,
it
we're
says, do you read books or
about
do you?
time. We're gonna have to wrap it up. And Betty Smith, are you on the call this morning? If so, Betty, we'd like for you to start to put a wrapper on what we've been doing here this morning. Betty Smith, she's still on?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, Betty, will you kind of put a wrapper on what it is that you are hearing that's going to help all of our businesses to get in shape here and take some points for Capri and really start to really grow our businesses by growing ourselves is what I'm hearing here this morning. Betty Smith.
Okay, good morning. I apologize for not coming on camera. But I thank you, Capri. Always a pleasure. They say the GOAT. You're one of the GOAT women in Primerica, and we appreciate you so much. Always on point. And you know, you talked about attitude, you talked about activity, and we know that attendance is a big part because you gotta attend stuff in order to make sure you catch all of this stuff. And that's one of the biggest in Primerica. But I just want you to speak to, because I was having a conversation with one of our people this morning, and we were talking about getting a new person started. You know, you get the IBA, you get the orientation, and then you want to get them in the field, you know, get the FNA and all that. But a lot of times they stop after the orientation and the name list. And and we were, you know, just saying like, now what do you do with them? And you know, they always say when the horse gets lame, you gotta either put it to death or you gotta dismount. And I know when you always talk about when you came into the business, how your first year you didn't do much. And I want to, and so sometimes, and we know that sometimes you put people on the back burner, you let them come to the meetings, you get them, help them get licensed, and you know, you keep them in and until they decide to come around. But talk to that, speak to that, because people don't know, like John always say, we fall in love with people too soon. And speak to people wasting our times, not working, but still wanting the attention, or maybe we're giving them the attention. And but how do you know the difference between the Capris on the sideline and the people that just ain't gonna do it?
Okay, well, again, this is the law of the numbers. In those 2 years, I came to the training, but they didn't train me, meaning they didn't go out with me on appointment because I didn't have much market. So I came to the meeting and I started learning and I started building my belief system, right? And as I started building my belief system, when I was ready to do the appointments, I was able to do the appointments. So I don't know, like I have people in my business that they need the, you know, they've been beat up all their life. They need the belief system. So I'm always having a training. That's what book club is all about, changing that. But doesn't mean I'm going to spend 80% of my time sitting there reading the book to them. But people waste our time because we allow them to waste our time. But I call people for a minute. I call people for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It depends on where they are. But if I have a touch point with them, I don't lose anything in that minute while I'm driving to go somewhere else to say, hey, what's going on? How's that chapter going? Blah, blah, blah. Some people, they still need to build their market, so they're getting licensed. Hey, how's the licensing process going? Blah, blah, blah. So you're going to have to, as the leader, decide again the outcome. And again, it's up to us. It's not the people that lead the business, it's us that lead the business. Because I don't think people waste our time. It's we allow them to do that, but nobody's really, the mentality I had to change in the beginning Like, nobody's a waste of time. I just have to have a better strategy. If they're willing to do the business, I've got to find a way to connect with them so I can educate them on how the business works, if that makes sense. Right? So I became great at, oh, you don't have this right now? It's okay. We're going to move on this. Oh, okay. You know what? Your list is only 5 people. It doesn't matter. We're going to call the 5 people. From the 5 people, we're going to get 10 names each. That's 50 people right there. So I was always able to look at it as a positive outcome and then move them along versus, oh, you know, call these 5 people yourself because you probably don't have a market. The attitude and the thinking, the mentality has to change before our business changes. And I
Okay.
think
Go ahead.
doing that effectively, because if they were, they would have more people in the game.
Rocky
Okay.
Maynard, you got a question? You got a comment? Right quick.
I just want to thank you, Coach. Thank you for the opportunity to express my gratitude. I've asked 3 or 4 questions, Coach, in the chat. You answered them. Just to you, Coach Lennon, we just want to thank you for exposing us to greatness and believing in us, because if you didn't, you wouldn't do this, and we don't take that for granted. So we will thank you. We know the greatest form of appreciation is instant application. So thank you for checking us so we could check ourselves and be the 5 system that you shared with us. So thank you so much. Good to see you.
Okay, we have to get a question from Shay Bond. I didn't see on the call. Shay Bond, do you have a question or comment before we end the call this morning? Shay Bond from Shay, are you on?
Hey, Coach, can you see me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
No, I do not have a question, but the information that received today, I definitely thank you, Capri. You know, I get a chance to hear from Capri because we're in the same mentoring group. So, you know, definitely some good information this morning. So I appreciate you. And I want to go back and look at this again.
All right, Melvin Calhoun.
Yeah.
Well, I promise you this, Gurpreet. Thank you for getting on the call, Coach Lennon. Thank you for getting 5-star people like Gurpreet on it. Gurpreet, you did the call for me. I promise you that. Thank you for every level. We stuck at 200. You told us exactly what we need to do, change some habits. You told us exactly what we need to do to really spend more quality time with our leaders. And I love the way you say you go to all of the family functions, and even if the recruit ain't introducing you to the chicken list, you get that chicken list. So Capri, thank you for getting on the call. Thank you for sharing from your heart. You and Rod, bless you now.
Okay, Tim, we're going to ask Capri to do just a quick wrap up in terms of what this business has really meant for her and her family, dreams and stuff like that she's made come true. And no doubt in my mind, I just admire Capri because she's always got something interesting and fulfilling and concrete to share with you to really move you forward in your thinking. It's your thinking here. It's the habits that you develop from the thinking that you create and the things that you read to change your viewpoint on what it is that we're doing here. Primerica is a great company, but you have to individually make it great and then collectively put a team together to get the greatness from where it can be for all of us. So we appreciate Capri getting on this morning. And Capri, you can give us a closing remarks. We do appreciate it. And you're taking the time out of your business schedule to work with us this morning. We do appreciate it very much. So close us out about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we go on to make this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Great conversation today. I love the questions. I love the feedback. And this is like the best way to do a call, because you don't want to just hear from a person talk. So the main thing, like I said, is everybody needs to sit down with themselves and talk about or think about what they want to go to move forward and use the resources. Like John Lennon is the giants of giants. He's built a giant business. Use the resources because the resources are available. We just have to pay attention. See, I remember John Maxwell saying that the big resources God is not going to waste on small people, right? So I realized that I had to become a big leader, a big thinker to get the big resources, to get the big team, to get the big leaders, the big producers, but I had to become that person. So once we become that person, guess what? We are going to attract that, right? Because what we're attracting is the level we're at right now. But if we change, we're going to change our attraction, right? So if we understand the laws of the universe, then we can what? Change ourselves. It's not about anybody else. It's not about who's wasting our time. It's like, are we wasting our time with ourselves? Are we, we just want people to do the business so bad that we're like, oh, they're wasting our time. But no, they have a process to go through. And that's why I always study habits. Habits are more important than goal setting, because habits will compound, and those compounding effects now will lead to what we want. So this has been, like I said, a great call, great feedback. Other questions come up, John, let them call me, let them talk to me, because sometimes it's the best way to talk yourself out of it. And then we're just all going to grow together, right? John's hierarchy is on the move. So let's keep it going. Let's get this hierarchy to over 2 million, because it's worth 5 million. So let's keep going.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, she ended up with habits. Let's go change our habits this morning. Let's give Capri a big round. Colonel Ting, come off mute, give her a big round, and
Thank
this is our call
Thank
for
you,
today.
Capri.
Thank you.
Great.
Capri, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Much power.
Talk to you guys later. Thank you so
Bye-bye,
much.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Hi, Rocky.
We stay until the very end, right?